Welcome to Module 3 on natural law and divine command theory. We've just covered relativism, subjectivism, which is getting to the question of is there truth in moral claims? And this one comes in here because we have this issue of, if there's no truth in moral claims, then there's, maybe culturally banned, maybe subjective, where in the world does truth come? And it solves that problem by simply saying it's wrong because God commands. Divine command theory comes from the idea of like the 10 commandments. God writes down 10 commandments, commands people to behave a certain way, and we behave in adherence with that. It avoids us having to determine what is right and wrong. We simply can turn to the commandments. We can turn to religious texts, religious teachings, and we can know what is right and wrong by simply going there. And so divine command basically creates a form of moral absolutism, a form of just very clear rules of what is right and what is wrong. It comes from God. God says what's right. God says what's wrong. End of the story. Now, there arise some problems. One of them is what's called the Euthyphro problem, the Euthyphro dilemma. Euthyphro is a man in a Platonic dialogue. He meets Socrates at the courthouse in Athens, and he's there because he's going to charge his father with murder because he's killed one of his servants or employees after he killed somebody else, but he does in a pretty heinous way, I guess. And the idea here is that Socrates is asking him, is it wrong for his, should he be punishing his dad? Should he be doing this? Most people wouldn't do that. And he's saying, well, the gods demand that murder is wrong. And he says, well, why is it wrong? And he comes to the conclusion, is it wrong because God commands it? Or is it wrong because it's wrong and the gods simply repeat what is wrong? Now, in Greek society, it has multiple gods. It's polytheistic. There's Zeus and all kinds of people. You've probably all studied Greek mythology, so that's not, at least on a brief bit in high school or something, really familiar with the idea that there are lots of these gods in those societies. So the idea there is it wrong because the gods say it's wrong, or is it the gods say it's wrong because it's wrong? And if it's wrong because the gods say it's wrong, then it's arbitrary because the gods could have said it was okay to murder. And they could say it's okay to let your dad get away with murder. It's okay to do this or that. That makes it arbitrary. But if you say, well, no, murder is absolutely wrong, period, then we have this issue of then why do we need the gods to tell us what's right or wrong if it's independent? Why is there a command theory? Which then leads us to natural law, which says God creates the world in a way that certain things are good, certain things are bad, and that we have a purpose or an end or a goal, and so we should live in accordance with that. And we have what's called natural law, which is nice because you actually don't have to believe in God to believe that there is a natural law that exists in the world, or there's a purpose and that we should live within it. And so morality comes from that. It comes from God, that God created the world in a way that things are a certain way, but it ultimately can be derived by looking at the natural world to determine what is right and wrong. We'll talk about these in greater detail, but that's kind of just a little primer on what we're going to do. As always, we'll have a discussion board in this module. I have a short reading from Euthyphro. I'd like for you to try to challenge your way through it. There's a nice reading from an online textbook links out too. That's very good. And then, of course, I'm going to provide a lecture. I'm going to do the lecture a little bit differently this time as an experiment. I'm going to try delivering the lecture both as a video, which is going to be me talking kind of like this, and also an audio file, because you watching me talk like this isn't necessarily necessary. So why do I need that? Which is going to then, but then I'll also provide a transcript or a summary of what I said. So those of you who maybe would rather just read it can read it. Those who want to watch it and read it while they're watching the video can. Those who want to just listen to it, maybe download it, their phone can download it and listen to it as they go. So that's all there. And then one final note is our first summary analysis paper will be just right after this module ends. So, if you get this module done a few days early, you can kind of plow into that because our next topic, I believe, is, well, next thing probably maybe egoism. or utilitarianism. I can't remember. I think if you go again to get into other topics, you might want more time to kind of look at those. All right, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and I will let you go.